Can the way two bodies move together actually reveal how emotionally available you are, or how emotionally closed off you have become? Carl Jung believed it could, and the couple you are about to choose is either going to confirm something you already suspect about yourself, or show you something you've been avoiding for a very long time. 6 dance couples are on your screen right now. Do not think about which one looks the most beautiful or the most romantic. Do not pick with your brain. Look at them the way you look at something that already belongs to you, quietly, without needing a reason. One of those couples already feels like yours. Choose it. Hold that number. Do not change it, because what you are about to hear is not a fun little personality quiz. It is a mirror, and some mirrors are very, very honest. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that the images we're drawn to, without thinking, without explaining, are direct messages from our unconscious. He called this the language of archetypes. Long before we know the words for who we are, our inner world already recognizes itself in symbols, in movements, in the way two bodies move together or apart. A dance is never just a dance. It is a map of the inner self. It shows how you connect, how you protect yourself, how you love, and what you are afraid to let go of. The position you were drawn to reflects something that is alive in you right now. Maybe it is your greatest strength. Maybe it is the shadow you have been carrying without knowing it. Probably both. There is no wrong answer here. There is no best couple. There is only the truth of what called to you. And that truth, even if it surprises you, is worth knowing. So keep that number in your mind. Let's begin. If the first couple pulled you in, that close, structured ballroom hold where the two partners are pressed together, moving as one unit with precision and control, something important is happening inside you. This is not just an elegant image. This is a psychological fingerprint. People who choose this position carry a deep and almost aching need for real connection, not surface-level connection, not small talk and emoji. Real connection, the kind where someone actually sees you and does not run. You are someone who takes relationships seriously. When you commit to a person, a job, or belief, you go all the way. There is no halfway with you. You either care deeply or you don't engage at all. Carl Jung would say that you are operating from the anima or animus, the deep inner force that drives us toward union, toward wholeness through another person. You sense, on some level, that who you are becomes clearer in genuine closeness with someone else. Your loyalty is real. If someone earns your trust, they have earned something rare. You show up. You follow through. You remember. You notice when something is wrong before the other person even says a word. People who have truly been loved by someone like you know how different it feels from everything else they've experienced. You also have extraordinary emotional intelligence. You can walk into a room and immediately read the energy. You sense tension that other people completely miss. You pick up on what is not being said. This is a gift, though it can also feel like a burden when the world around you is emotionally messy and you can't turn off what you feel. But here is where the shadow lives, and Jung was very clear that every gift casts one. The same closeness that you crave can become the thing that controls you, because you need deep connection so much you can become rigid about how that connection should look. You may hold your partner, in love, in friendship, in work, tighter than they can breathe, not because you are mean, because you are terrified of losing what is real. The ballroom hold is structured for a reason. It creates safety. But when structure becomes control, safety becomes a cage for both people inside it. You may also struggle to trust anyone who has not yet proven themselves completely. And the bar for proven keeps moving. Someone can love you for years and still feel like they are one bad day away from losing you. That is not their insecurity. That is your wound speaking. At some point in your life, something real was taken from you. A person, a sense of safety, a promise that got broken. And now a part of you choreographs every relationship to make sure that never happens again. The perfect form, the controlled steps, the unbreakable hold. All of it is armor dressed up as elegance. Your real growth is not about loving people less. It is about learning to stay in the dance even when the steps get messy, even when neither of you knows the next move. That is not failure. That is real life, and you are strong enough to handle it, even when it is imperfect. Ask yourself honestly, where in your life have you held on so tightly that you pushed something good away? Where did your need for control cost you real closeness? Your psyche is not asking you to let go of everyone. It is asking you to loosen the hold just enough to let love actually breathe. Now, let's move to the second couple. That playful, energetic swing or jive position, arms extended, holding hands at a distance, both partners moving fast and free with big smiles and wide open space between them. If this couple caught your eye first, your inner world is running on a kind of electric joy, and that joy is very real, but it is also protecting something. You are genuinely fun to be around. That is not a small thing. You have a natural gift for lifting the energy in a room. People feel lighter just standing next to you. You laugh easily, move quickly, and you have an ability to find something interesting or exciting in almost any situation. You do not wait for life to bring you happiness. You drag it out yourself. Jung would connect this to what he called the pure eternus, the eternal child, a powerful archetype that keeps people connected to wonder, freedom, and the joy of pure experience. In you, that energy is very much alive. You are also brave in your own way. You try things other people are too scared to attempt. You walk into new situations without needing a detailed plan. You adapt fast. When one thing falls apart, you bounce to the next thing before the dust even settles. People admire that resilience, even if they don't fully understand how it works. And in relationships, you are magnetic. You make the people around you feel alive. Your enthusiasm is contagious. Your presence is electric. Being chosen by someone like you feels like being given a gift. But here's what the space between those two partners in this dance position is really saying. Distance. Playful, stylized, beautiful distance. The arms are extended. The hands touch but barely. The bodies are far apart. And this is not just a dance style. For many people drawn to this image, this is how they move through emotional life. Close enough to feel warmth. Far enough to not get hurt. You may be someone who runs from depth, not consciously, not maliciously. But when things get too heavy, too real, too demanding, too emotionally close, something inside you find a reason to spin away. A new project, a new plan, a joke to break the tension, a sudden need to be somewhere else. This is not because you don't care. It is because feeling too deeply for too long without an exit, that feels genuinely dangerous to some part of you. Maybe it always has. People in your life may have told you at some point that you are hard to hold on to, that you are everywhere but somehow nowhere, that they cannot tell if you actually want them around, or if you are just having fun until something more interesting comes along. That is a painful thing to hear. And if it has been said to you, there is a reason it stayed with you. The shadow of this archetype is avoidance. The joy is real, but sometimes the joy is also a wall. The question to sit with, honestly, not defensively, is this: what are you dancing away from? What would happen if you stopped moving long enough to actually feel something you have been outrunning? Your psyche is not asking you to stop being joyful. It is asking you to be brave enough to let joy coexist with something deeper, to hold the hand instead of just touching it. The third couple is a completely different world. If your eyes went straight to that dramatic, contemporary modern pair, one partner lifted high, body stretched in extreme angles, arms reaching, the whole thing looking almost like it could break apart at any second. You're someone who lives at a level of emotional intensity that most people never touch in their entire lives. You are built for transformation, not the slow, comfortable kind, the real kind, the kind that costs you something and changes you at the core. You do not shy away from deep water. You dive in, and you go all the way to the bottom. When you love, it is enormous. When you grieve, it shakes the whole house. When you commit to something you believe in, you give it everything, every drop of energy you have. This is extraordinary. In a world full of people who live in the shallow end, you are someone who insists on depth. And that insistence has given you a kind of wisdom that people with easy lives simply never develop. Jung spoke about the individuation process, the journey of becoming who you truly are, beneath all the roles and expectations placed on you. The people most drawn to this kind of image are often the ones most committed to that journey. You are not here to just fit in. You are here to grow, to become, to transform. That is not arrogance. That is your life's actual direction, and some part of you has always known it. You're also the person who shows others that bigger things are possible. Your courage to live at full volume gives other people permission to stop playing small. That is a genuine gift. But the shadow of this position is right there in the image. If you look at it honestly, one partner is carrying the other. Someone is always slightly off the ground. Someone is always reaching further than feels quite safe. And the whole thing, as beautiful as it is, cannot be sustained forever. Contemporary dance at that intensity is exhausting. And so is living at emotional extremes all the time. You may burn through people, not because you're cruel, but because not everyone can match your intensity. You may burn through yourself, running on passion and adrenaline until the body or the mind finally says stop. You may struggle to find rest that actually feels restful, because slowing down feels like giving up. And when you are not in a state of transformation or deep feeling, you may wonder if you are actually alive. There may also be a pattern here where the most dramatic relationships are the most attractive to you, even when they are not healthy. Intensity can feel like love when it is actually just noise. Chaos can feel like depth when it is actually just chaos. This is one of the most important things your psyche is asking you to look at right now. Is this transformation, or is this just intensity for its own sake? You do not need to suffer to grow. You are allowed to land. You are allowed to rest on solid ground and still be the remarkable, deep, extraordinary person you already are. Your strength is not the reaching and the lifting. Your strength is you, all the way down to the quiet center of you that exists even when the music stops. If the fourth couple stopped you, that formal, sweeping waltz with a long gown, the slow, controlled turns, the deep romantic tilt of two bodies in perfect classical form, something ancient and tender is living inside you. You are a romantic, but not the way that word usually gets used. Not flowers and candy. Something older than that. Something that believes in its bones that real love is patient, graceful, and worth every slow, careful step. You have a profound appreciation for what endures, the things that have been tested by time, traditions, promises, relationships built on genuine commitment. These things move you in a way that newer or trendier things simply don't. You may have been told that you are old-fashioned or that your standards are too high. But what looks like rigidity from the outside is actually something much more beautiful from the inside. You believe that some things are worth doing right, that there is dignity in care and intention. That beauty is not accidental. It is built. You are patient in a world that has forgotten how to wait. You are steady in a world that mistakes speed for strength. People who have you in their corner have someone who will not flinch at the first difficulty. You are the one who stays. You are the one who remembers. You are the one who shows up even when showing up is hard. Jung would recognize in this choice a strong connection to what he called the self, the archetype of wholeness, integrity, and the long, dignified arc of a human life. You are not chasing quick highs. You are building something real, and that is quietly heroic. But the shadow of the waltz is this. The dance only works if both partners are moving in the same direction at the same pace, in the same form. And life does not always cooperate. People change. Relationships change. The world changes. And for someone like you, that change can feel like a deep personal loss. Even when the change is actually good, you may hold on to versions of relationships, jobs, or ideas long after they have stopped serving you, simply because they are familiar, because leaving them feels like a betrayal of something sacred. The past has a powerful pull on you. And while that pull keeps you rooted, it can also keep you frozen. There may be a version of your future that you have been putting off because it doesn't match the picture of how things were supposed to look. You also carry perfectionism in the way you carry it, quietly, privately, but persistently. If you cannot do something the right way, you may not do it at all. And this means you sometimes miss out on experiences that were genuinely good for you, just because they were imperfect or uncertain. The question your soul is sitting with right now is this: what are you holding on to that has already ended? What would your life look like if you let the song change, even if the old song was beautiful? The waltz does not disappear when the music changes. The grace you carry is yours forever. But new music is not a loss. It is an invitation. Now the fifth couple, that upright, modern, almost casual salsa or contemporary social dance where both partners are standing tall, facing each other as equals, connected but not merged, moving together without anyone leading too hard or following too blindly. If this position was the one that pulled you in, Your inner world is doing something quietly remarkable. It is trying to figure out what real balance actually looks like. You are someone who values fairness and partnership above almost everything else. You do not want to be saved. You do not want to save anyone else. You want something mutual, a relationship where both people show up at the same level, where no one is carrying more than their share, where both voices matter equally. In a culture that often romanticizes extremes, either total independence or total merger, what you want is actually harder to find and more mature than most people realize. You think carefully before you act. You take your time. You read situations from multiple angles before committing. This makes you trustworthy and reliable. The people in your life know that when you say something, you mean it. When you make a decision, you have thought it through. When you give your word, it stays given. That is a rare quality, and it is quietly one of your greatest strengths. You are also good at communication, better than you probably give yourself credit for. You have a natural instinct for finding common ground. When there is conflict, you are the one trying to understand both sides rather than just defending your position. Jung would say that you have a strong ego, not in an arrogant sense, but in the psychological sense, a grounded, stable sense of self that can engage with other people without losing itself. But here is where the balance tips. Because you think so carefully, and because you value fairness so deeply, you can become afraid of anything that feels unequal or out of control. And real intimacy, the raw, messy, deeply personal kind, is almost never perfectly balanced. It requires you to be vulnerable at moments when you feel exposed. It requires you to ask for things you're not sure you deserve. It requires you to need someone, which means admitting that you cannot always handle everything alone. For people like you, the guard stays up, not a thick wall, more like a quiet glass partition. You are warm, you are engaged, you are genuinely present. But there's a layer just beneath the warmth that very few people ever reach. And the reason is not that you don't want to be known. The reason is that being truly known, fully, imperfectly, without the balance and composure, feels like the most dangerous thing in the world. Ask yourself, in your closest relationships, are you really there? Or are you there at a comfortable distance, kind and present and reliable, but not quite fully in? What would it cost you to actually need someone? What would happen if the dance got messy and you stayed anyway? Your psyche is not asking you to become someone who falls apart. It is asking you to let the people who love you see the places where you are not perfectly held together. That is not weakness. That is the whole point. And now we come to the sixth image. That solo dancer, a woman in a full dramatic gown, arms raised high, spinning and moving entirely on her own, filling the whole frame with her presence. If this is the image that caught you first, something very important is true about you. You are powerful in a way that very few people understand. And you have been alone with that power for a long time. You do not wait for anyone to begin. You do not need a partner to validate the way you move through life. You have built something inside yourself that is yours, a set of values, a way of seeing the world, a strength that came from having to figure things out on your own. Other people's approval is something you appreciate, but do not require. Other people's criticism lands, but does not destroy you. You have a spine made of something real, and it took real experiences to build it. Your independence is not a pose. It is not a defense mechanism you adopted because you read a self-help book. It is the actual architecture of how you have lived. You know how to take care of yourself. You know how to rebuild when things fall apart. You know how to stand up inside your own life and keep going when there is nothing and no one holding you up. That is extraordinary. Truly, Jung called this individuation in its most complete form, the self fully realized, fully present, not dependent on external definitions for its worth. You are also deeply creative. Even if you do not identify as an artist, you live artistically. You make choices that are yours. You see things in a way that is uniquely your own. You bring something to every room that disappears when you leave. People notice you, not because you perform for them, because you are genuinely, visibly, undeniably yourself. But here is the truth that the image is also carrying. The dancer is alone, entirely, completely alone. And for someone who has been self-sufficient for so long, that fact has probably stopped hurting on the surface. But it did not stop mattering. Underneath the independence, not instead of it, but beneath it, There's a longing to be truly known, not admired, not respected from a distance. Known. The kind of knowing that only happens when you let someone stay close enough and long enough to see the parts of you that are not performing, not managing, not strong. The parts that are just human. You may have been disappointed by people, possibly deeply. The level of self-reliance you carry is almost always built on top of a moment or many moments where you needed someone and they were not there, and the decision you made in those moments, quietly, privately, maybe without even fully realizing it, was, I will never put myself in that position again. I will never need like that again. That decision kept you safe. It may have literally saved you, but it also became a ceiling. And now the most courageous thing available to you is not another act of independence. It is one act of genuine openness. Not to everyone, just to one person who has earned it, letting them in, not all the way all at once, but enough that the dance is no longer entirely solo. Because here is what Jung understood that most people resist. We do not become whole alone. We become whole in contact with each other. Your strength is not threatened by closeness. It is completed by it. Ask yourself, who in your life is standing at the edge of this dance, waiting for you to reach out a hand? What are you afraid will happen if you let them in? And what might finally be possible if you do? Now, let's step back and look at all 6 positions together. Because the most important thing to understand is this. You are not only one dance. You chose one position today. That position reflects which inner force is most alive in you right now. But the other 5 are also inside you. They are just quieter, waiting. The person who chose the close ballroom hold needs to learn to loosen the grip. The person who chose a playful swing dance needs to learn to hold still long enough to feel something real. The person who chose a dramatic contemporary lift needs to learn that rest is not failure. The person who chose a classical waltz needs to learn that the song is allowed to change. The person who chose the balanced modern couple needs to learn that vulnerability is not a loss of control. And the person who chose the solo dancer needs to learn that strength and openness are not opposites. This is what Jung called integration, not becoming a different person, becoming a more complete version of yourself. Every part of the psyche that we ignore, every dance we refuse to learn, becomes what Jung called the shadow, the unconscious force that shapes our decisions even when we think we are fully in control. The dance you avoided looking at today is just as revealing as the one you chose. Notice it, not with judgment, with curiosity, because somewhere inside you, even that dance knows your name. You do not need to transform overnight. Psychological growth is not a sudden shift. It is a series of small, honest choices. The choice to loosen the hold by just a little. The choice to stay when staying feels uncomfortable. The choice to rest when everything inside you says push harder. The choice to let one person in, just one, just enough. Your psyche spoke to you through an image today, a moving body, a particular kind of connection between 2 people or one person and herself. That image was not random. It was a message. And if you are willing to sit with it honestly, it will keep teaching you something long after this video ends. If what you heard today felt true, if something landed in a place you don't usually let things land, drop your number in the comments. Say which position you chose and say one word about what it brought up for you. Your honesty might be exactly what someone else watching this needs to hear. We find ourselves in each other's reflections more than we realize. And if this kind of deep, honest exploration of the inner world is something that matters to you, subscribe and stay close. This channel exists for people who are willing to look at themselves with real eyes, not just the flattering parts. All of it, because that is the only way any of us actually grows. Until next time, keep dancing. All 6 dances, even the hard ones, especially the hard ones.